About a month ago, I did a video on the BeastX versus the Wmouse ULX, and I didn't do a review on the BeastX because honestly, there was not much to say other than it being the #1 gaming mouse out at the moment. But in the comments of that video, someone informed me that WLmouse is making a new version, an updated version of the BeastX, and those two mice are called the BeastX Max and the Fabulous BeastX BeastX. This is a collab with a Chinese show called Fabulous Beasts, so they did a colorway of the mouse, and I saw the design of these new mice and I knew I just had to get one. And yeah, we went full cutesy, because if we're gonna go, cats and mice on a fucking mouse, we're gonna go get the pink one. We're gonna go full cutesy, because I'm feeling pretty today. Now, it's worth mentioning the only thing separating this mouse to the new BeastX Max is a 3950 HS sensor and the option to have these new TTC Nihil transparent black dot, or Omron optical. Sorry if I'm not saying that TTC name properly. On the Fabulous BeastX, you don't get an option, you just get the new TTC switches. More on that in a minute. But despite this being one of my favorite mice I've ever owned, and this one being a pretty awesome special edition of what should have been just a copy and paste of the previous one, just with the new design, it is worse in almost every single way possible. And this has got to be one of the most disappointing mouse releases that I've ever seen. Let's talk about why. So first off, let's talk upgrades from the original BeastX. From what I can tell, the only upgrades is that it uses new switches and it now allows you to use 8 kHz polling rate. I'll let you decide whether those two are actual valid changes that you would genuinely upgrade for. Now, they've also changed the battery, so it is marginally better at 300 milliamp hours, so that's good. I'll talk about that in a second as well. But they also have the new paint, and the paint on this mouse is actually very high quality. I decided to do a jerry-rig everything and scratch test the paint, and only a little bit came off when I started pressing really hard. It's a pretty neat paint job, plus I do think the design is cute, if not a bit obnoxious, but variety is very important in a mouse collection. And I am quite literally out of positive things to say. So let's move on to the negatives and the main point with this mouse. So firstly, I did want to mention the battery life very briefly, because in the previous video I did comparing the BeastX to the Wmouse ULX, I did say that the battery life was comparable, and that is not true. My ULX came stock set up for 4 kHz polling rate, so that's why there is a battery discrepancy between the two. Once I set this mouse to 1 kHz polling rate, and then I set this one to 1 kHz, it was a landslide victory for the Wmouse ULX. And with this mouse, it's not exactly a landslide, but the Wmouse battery is still better. But the real disappointing things come when we talk about the clicks. And unfortunately, I think WLmouse's quality control should be in question because of this mouse. So these new TTC switches are actually god-awful. They're heavy as a bitch, they sound like trash, and they have a load of post-travel. I'm not a fan, and what makes this even worse is the left click. I'm assuming this is a total QC issue, but there is some sort of grinding when I actually press on the left click. It makes this click almost solid state, and it feels very, very strange to use in any sort of competitive gaming task. I'm pressing super hard here to actuate it, and it feels like a 2-stage trigger on a revolver if everyone has shot a gun before. There's like an initial click, and then there's the actual click of the switch actuating. I have no idea what is causing this issue, but it's incredibly disappointing to pay this much money for a mouse and then have a defect this obvious. This mouse is now borderline unusable, and as a matter of fact, this is the only mouse that I've ever refused to use for a full week before I review it. Yeah, overall, these new clicks are a major downgrade in my personal opinion. I know some people do like heavier clicks, but the blue shell pink dots that were in the original BeastX were so good. So they were divine intervention in comparison. But don't worry, this mouse is the gift that keeps on giving, because the disappointment does not end there. The overall build quality feels much more flimsy as well, to be honest. Yeah, hi, so this is me coming from the future to talk to you about this mouse. We had a catastrophic failure in the coming part of the video. Now, typically this is the part where I do my pinch test and my sound test, and let's just see what happened that was so catastrophic. Old son of a bitch. So yeah, I'm really at a loss for words as to what to say about this, other than this is a clear decrease in quality from WLmouse. I'm not sure if they're using a different alloy, if they're using a lower quality magnesium, but clearly the build quality is not on par with what we came to expect with the original Beast X. Lastly, the scroll wheel is once again worse than the original Beast X. There's more tension, there's less feedback, and overall it is just more stiff. Honestly, I'm not even really sure how this is possible considering both mice use the same scroll wheel encoder. So I'm not sure how they feel worlds apart in terms of quality. Ultimately, I think I'm going to chalk most of these differences up to quality control issues. A couple of you guys mentioned having QC issues with your mice, and honestly, it's upsetting. WLmouse is a Chinese company, and I am one of those people who don't like that. Not because I'm racist, I have loads of Chinese friends. It's because manufacturing is much cheaper there than here, and that's because they have almost zero laws regulating anything. The cheaper the better, regardless of whether that fucks you over or not. So I think from now on, I'm not going to be recommending WLmouse as highly. So if you are going to get a Beast X variant, I would say steer totally clear of this new fabulous mouse design. So some people have asked me, how does this mouse compare to the ULX? And I'll answer honestly. The argument for this mouse is much more compelling now. I don't really know how I feel about recommending WLmouse at all. I guess I'd just say be cautious, but at the same time, I also don't recommend spending $190 minimum on a mouse. But with that being said, if you have an infinite budget, or if you're just mentally deranged like I am and you want to spend as much on a gaming mouse as possible, then the ULX is better. So yeah, new Beast X sucks dick, old Beast X is better, Wmouse is better than all of them. I guess that's the overall summary of this video, and I think I've made my point.